Hey guys, Dr. Linguitude here. Um, the first question, or one of the questions that I want to explore, has two parts to it, and I have it written down in my handy dandy notebook here. So the question for today is, if you don't know the language, can you really know the culture? And if you don't know the culture, can you really be considered, in this case, American? So this question pops up a lot in my classes when we talk about identity and what makes us Americans or what makes us not Americans. And since I've lived in the US for over a decade, but I still spend most of my life back in Poland, I do wonder about it. My students ask me about it. Do I feel American? And it's a weird question to answer because in some ways, yes, when I go back to Poland, people perceive me as not quite Polish or not Polish enough. But on the other hand, here, as you can hear, anytime I open my mouth, people assume and already kind of figure out that I'm not from around here. So, as I'm thinking about it, I do know the language very well, but obviously I don't know every single thing about it. And when I don't know all of the language and all of the culture, can I still be American? How much do you have to know or want to participate to be considered one? I don't think there's one singular answer to it. I just know for me, I don't know if I'll ever be able to refer to myself, I'm American, because that primary and culture process happened for me in Polish. But that does not mean that other people who came from other countries cannot do that, right? So when we consider the culture and the language that comes with it, I think something that is really important to know and really important to take into account is the fact how much of that really creates and defines our identity, right? So some of the things to think about or consider is if culture is really what defines us, if language is really what defines us. I would say that to a large proportion, yes, it does. Can you then change culture, right? So I've been exposed to one, now I've been exposed to another one. In another decade or so, I'm going to be equally exposed to Polish and American culture. But they also happen at different times in my life. So does that matter? Linguistics tells us yes, it does matter, right? That the one culture that you've explored and you were in the culture in as a child will always have some sort of stronger significance and connection to you. Now, if you've been exposed to more than one, that will change things. So I would think about, and that's why I ask my students to think about oftentimes, what is your own relationship to your culture? What is your own relationship to your language, right? Because we know that even without exposure to multiple cultures and multiple languages, it's still an important part of us, right? And we define ourselves in language oftentimes. Language becomes part of our identity. So I don't know if there's a clean answer to the question. If you don't know the culture and you don't know the language fully, can you fully be considered whatever nationality you want to? So think about it. If you have questions that are connected to it, or you have your own experiences with whatever cultures, whatever combinations of language or one language, comment on it. I'll be interested to see. Thanks.